Sarasota and Manatee Counties offer a number of master plan communities, which are areas or neighborhoods that have a mixture of residential and business in great locations. But it's not like a one-size-fits-all type of situation. So which one might be the best fit for you? So in this video, I'm going to compare and contrast Lakewood Ranch to Palmer Ranch. Hi, I'm Jill Thomas, and I'm a real estate agent that covers both Sarasota and Manatee Counties on the west coast of Florida. Palmer Ranch and Lakewood Ranch are great locations. They're great master plan communities. There's some clear differences between both of them, so I'm going to share those with you. And then at the end, I'm going to share maybe some potentially negative things or some downsides to living in these communities. Number one, size and location. So first we're going to talk about Lakewood Ranch, which is huge. It is 50 square miles. Now, all of Lakewood Ranch is east of I-75, and it's in two counties. It's in Manatee County and Sarasota County. The southern end is at Fruitville Road, and then it goes north to State Road 64. Although I just heard that a Neal community, I think, is going in just north of that. So they're kind of changing their tune a little bit on what they're calling the parameters of Lakewood Ranch, but nonetheless. So in general, that's what we're talking about with Lakewood Ranch, east of I-75. And there's some areas that are right off of State Road 70 or right off of State Road 64, east of I-75, that's not included in part of Lakewood Ranch. But in general, that's our location. That's what we're talking about. If you live in Lakewood Ranch, depending on where you're at, you may have a Lakewood Ranch mailing address. It could be Bradenton, which is Manatee County as well, or a Sarasota mailing address. Now, Palmer Ranch is a lot smaller. It's only 10 square miles. And so, as you can see then, Lakewood Ranch, 50 square miles, 5 times larger than Palmer Ranch. Now, Palmer Ranch is exclusively in Sarasota. It's all Sarasota County, Sarasota mailing address. But this is west of I-75, so we're west, closer to the beaches, and it runs from about Clark Road down to State Road 681. Now they're calling Talon Preserve, which is just south of 681, part of Palmer Ranch. So again, we can, even though we have these boundaries, we talk about these roads, it's not always hard and fast with that. And then let's see, McIntosh Road and Honore Road run north and south. So Palmer Ranch is pretty much off of those two main roads, more or less. And so of course, those roads run north and south, or they're parallel to each other. Now, the one thing about location with Palmer Ranch compared to Lakewood Ranch that people like to know about is Palmer Ranch is definitely closer to beaches because it's west of I-75. That automatically is going to get you closer to the water, and just the way the land formation is and all of that, is just some nice straight shots. Especially if you're more at the northern end of Palmer Ranch, you hop on Clark Road, you head west, you're going to cross right over the bridge, the South Bridge out to Siesta Key, easy peasy. But you can also go a little bit farther south down to the North Jetty, Venice Beach, Nokomis Beach, and those are relatively close as well. So depending on traffic and where you're coming from in Palmer Ranch, you could maybe get to the beach in 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. Could take a little bit longer, again, just depending on different variables. But if you're in Lakewood Ranch now, like with traffic and everything, and depending on where you're at in Lakewood Ranch, because it's going so far east, so far north as well, it could take you a solid 40, 50 minutes, or if the traffic's really bad, a whole hour to get out there. So that's definitely a major difference between these two areas. Number two, non-residential offerings. So what do I mean by that? It's just not residential, not homes, the businesses, offices, hospitals, hotels, restaurants, shops, grocery stores, you name it. So in Lakewood Ranch, as this master plan community has 50 square miles, the commercial businesses are definitely woven throughout the whole area. And you name it, there's Lakewood Ranch Medical Center, different restaurants, grocery stores, everything, all those places I just mentioned, they're woven all throughout Lakewood Ranch. So even kind of doesn't matter where you're at, a Publix isn't far away. There's not really anything terribly far away from you, which is good since it is larger. Now in Palmer Ranch though, originally what I understood is there weren't supposed to be any businesses baked into the Palmer Ranch area, although right now they are building Publix on Honore in the middle of it all. So there could have been some of these folks who before were living in a community and they were backed up to what was farmland before. Now, they could have a dumpster behind their house from the Publix. So I'm sure some of those people are irritated there. So there's going to be a small strip mall in the middle of it all. But because Palmer Ranch is so small, even without that Publix right there, there's a Publix right on Clark Road. There's one down on Laurel Road. I mean, there's grocery stores and everything everywhere. So even before, it didn't take you long to get to any place. Now, Lakewood Ranch does have a couple of downtown type of areas. We have Lakewood Ranch Main Street and then Waterside, which is growing, which is like a secondary downtown area. So all of that's right there. In Palmer Ranch, there is no like official downtown area. There's no hub. There's no core to it. It's just, like I said, primarily residential homes with businesses on the outskirts. But like I already mentioned, you're closer to the beaches. Downtown Sarasota isn't far. So it's just a different vibe, a different feel than Lakewood Ranch. Number 3, parks and trails. So in Lakewood Ranch, there are over 150 miles of trails, whether it's a hard, soft, or bike trail. There are so many options. In addition, there are 10 other separate parks in Lakewood Ranch that residents can use, and they're all going to have different features. Maybe there's a playground in one, dog park, exercise stations, a tennis court, a pickleball court. So they all have different features, but they're all there within Lakewood Ranch. Now, Palmer Ranch, on the other hand, is a little bit lighter in that regard. First of all, there is access to Legacy Trail in Palmer Ranch, and that is a Rails to Trails project that runs right now from Venice all the way to downtown Sarasota. So that's a lot of mileage right there. And so that's really neat. There's a couple other little trails and another little park in Palmer Ranch. And I wasn't aware of this, but I read online that there's actually a community garden in Palmer Ranch. So I want to find that. I'm just really curious to see what that looks like. So I think that's pretty neat. So definitely not as much in options with all of that in Palmer Ranch as it is in Lakewood Ranch. Number 4, CDD fees and HOA dues. Okay, so in both Lakewood Ranch and Palmer Ranch, you're going to have HOA dues. You're not going to escape that. Doesn't matter if you have a single family home, a condo, whatever. You're paying those HOA dues. And of course, every community offers something different, and the HOA dues are going to vary from place to place, but you're not going to escape that. Now, CDD fees are another story. If you live in Lakewood Ranch, paying those CDD fees, Community Development District fees. In Palmer Ranch, though, there are some communities where you don't have to pay those. So if you want to escape those extra fees, those CDD fees, then maybe we need to explore Palmer Ranch. There's a few communities that do have them, but not all of them. Number 5, community events. Now, Lakewood Ranch is heavy, rich with events, activities, clubs, things that you can do there, both for residents and non-residents. So I don't live in Lakewood Ranch, but there's a lot of activities that go on that I could go up there and participate in. But if you want to be a part of a club or a special group, then that's just reserved for residents. So there is so much going on there. Now, the flip side of that, Palmer Ranch does not offer anything like that. There are no extra clubs and groups unless there's something offered within the community, your neighborhood itself, which is not unusual. But on a massive scale, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see ads on Facebooks or events being marketed, oh, come to Palmer Ranch for this parade or for a food truck rally or something like that. They don't do that. So like I said, it could happen in an individual community, but not as a whole. Now, in Lakewood Ranch, individual communities might be doing things as well. So if you are looking for an area to live where you are kept busy all of the time, then Lakewood Ranch might be a good fit for you. Number 6, medical facilities. All right, this is probably one of the top questions I get for a lot of people wherever they're looking to live is, let's talk about medical facilities and the hospitals. So in Lakewood Ranch, there is the Lakewood Ranch Medical Center, and there's a lot of different doctor's offices, dentist offices, specialties up there. So it's right there, right in Lakewood Ranch. Now, if you're in Palmer Ranch, there isn't a hospital right there within Palmer Ranch, but Sarasota Memorial Hospital is not far away on 41 in Sarasota. And then there's the newer branch of the Sarasota Memorial Hospital in Nokomis on Laurel Road, just south of Palmer Ranch. And actually for some residents, that might even be closer. So you've got 2 solid hospitals pretty close by. And near Sarasota Memorial Hospital, tons of doctor's offices, again, specialties, dentist offices, you name it, it's all right there. And I'm sure in time too, there might be more down there in the Nokomis area now that the hospital has been down there for a couple of years. So you're really set in both areas in terms of medical facilities. So no worries there. Number 7, housing. Okay, so as you can imagine, with Lakewood Ranch being 5 times the size of Palmer Ranch, you're definitely going to have a lot more option in Lakewood Ranch, but they both offer a variety of properties, you know, in terms of whether it's a townhouse, a condo, an attached villa, or a single family home. And then even in Lakewood Ranch, they're trying to build more rentals to give people more rental opportunities. Not quite so much in Palmer Ranch unless, you know, it's a privately, you know, it's owned by somebody and they're renting it out. But in terms of like an entire building, or even they're doing entire neighborhoods of single family homes that are going to be exclusively rentals, that's soon going to be available in Lakewood Ranch. In Lakewood Ranch, the oldest homes are around 20 years old, and they are still building right now. They have plans to continue to build in years to come. So if you're thinking, oh, I'd love a brand new house in Lakewood Ranch, but not today, maybe in a couple years, you're not going to miss out. There's still going to be some opportunities in the future. Right now, at the low end, you can buy an older townhouse in Lakewood Ranch, like in the maybe low to mid 300s. So again, because this is older, like 20 years old, you might need some updating and some other things you need to invest into the property, but that would be the starting price tag. And then in Lakewood Ranch, they do have properties that are in the multi-millions. But right now, the median sale price is around $775. As I mentioned, Palmer Ranch does have variety too, just not as many options because it's, you know, smaller. Now, Palmer Ranch started to be built in the 80s. So some of the properties are going to be older, like 35 years old. They kind of took a break with building for a little bit, and so now they're going crazy again building. So more in the southern end of Palmer Ranch can you get a brand new house yet. At the low end, you can get an older condo for around $250,000 in Palmer Ranch. Then they also have single family homes that are around a few $1,000,000. And right now, the median sale price for a home in Palmer Ranch is $575,000. Now, with all that being said, that I'm talking about the prices in these neighborhoods, I just want to make sure that you kind of keep it real in your mind in terms of what you can truly get for your money. So even though I talk about these median sale prices, that's going to include resales and some, but not all of the new construction, because not all new construction sales are registered in our MLS where we get these statistics from. So for the 575 or the 750 or 775 that I said in Lakewood Ranch, that's going to include resale. So maybe properties that are older or maybe not up to what you're envisioning. So just kind of keep it real as you're looking, and you'll do fine. But I just hate it when I burst people's bubbles when they hear things like this and say, they think, okay, well, I can scale back a little bit. I don't need everything super fancy, but I want this larger house for, $500,000 in Palmer Ranch. And, you might not be able to get that. So just prepare yourself mentally with that as you start to do some more research and digging into these prices and what you can get for your money. Number 8, the cons. So let's talk about the negative side of living in Lakewood Ranch and Palmer Ranch. Now, if you've seen many of my other videos, you know I don't shy away with sharing anything that could be potentially negative in a neighborhood. And up to this point, I think that you've already decided what might be negative to you, because what might be a con to one person might not be a con to somebody else. So for instance, some people really shy away or jump away from the idea of having HOA dues or CDD fees. But then there's other people who really embrace it because they enjoy what they get out. They appreciate the benefits and they're willing to pay for those. So in the end, some of those things are a little bit of a personal preference. Now, to really dig down a little deeper with this and what could be a negative, in my opinion, and it might be okay to you, is the traffic. The traffic can get really bad in these areas sometimes. Now, but that sometimes is also the gem of living in a master plan community and finding the one that's the best fit for you, because honestly, that's gonna minimize how much driving you have to do to get around. And I was talking to another customer the other day, and I might do a whole video on this about some of our subcultures, our submarkets in these areas, because if you find the one that's the best fit for you, then that is going to help reduce how much driving you have to do. If you really, really love Lakewood Ranch and you can afford the HOA dues and the CDD fees and of course the price of the property, well, if you can live right there almost all the time and hardly ever have to leave the area unless there's a special event you want to attend or go to the beach on occasion. Same thing in Palmer Ranch. So even though the traffic can be kind of sticky, and in time you learn the ebb and flow, you learn when's the best time to go and do this or that, just to help minimize some of these headaches with our traffic. If you're living really where you love and where your lifestyle is, then it's not quite so bad. So just keep that in mind in any community where you're thinking about moving anywhere, really anywhere in the country, just not in the Sarasota Bradenton area. So in my opinion, that's kind of the downside of these communities. Okay, so what do you think of Lakewood Ranch versus Palmer Ranch? Do you like the amenity-rich, lots of activities, lots of hoopla and stuff of Lakewood Ranch, or maybe the slightly slower pace, less crazy area of Palmer Ranch, but you're a little bit closer to the beaches? Now, I also just recently did a video comparing and contrasting Parish to Lakewood Ranch because I get so many questions about that as well. So take a look at that if you want to dig in a little bit deeper and keep researching our master plan communities here in the Sarasota Bradenton area. If you have any other thoughts you would like to share, please put it in the comments below. Even if it's something negative, did I forget to mention something? Put it down there. That's quite all right. Let people know what your thoughts are, and people can take away from it what they would like. So no problem there. I appreciate you guys watching very much. If you do have any questions, want to know more about the real estate in this area, please give me a call, text, or email me. I'm here to help you out. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Take care, guys. Have a great day.